All right, another round of applause for you two. That was awesome. Adam, Alessandra, thank you guys. Oof. It just creates a magical moment, right? Which is what we're here for. Now, my name's Trevor, and I'm here to talk about everybody's favorite topic, which is money. No. I'm actually really want to reference a terrific book I read, and it's called The Art of Money, and she spends the first third of it putting you into deep meditation about finances. And the analogy I thought was, you know when someone's in a great relationship, one of your friends, and your relationship's going like crap, and they just want to talk about it, and all you hear is, are you accusing me of something? Do you know how bad my relationship is? And that's not it at all. So when we say we want to talk about money in your financial support of Friends Church, we're not talking about it from a judgmental point of view, and we don't want to trigger you. It's okay. But we do want to say thank you to everybody here who helps make this church go, because it's because of us that this church runs as well as it does, and that we're able to go out and not just be here, but reach out to all of our community out there. And if you want a really good book on money, Art of Money. The Art of Money, like what a funny topic. And it's a little bit eclectic, but I'm like, oh yeah. And I just thought, as I said, about relationships in other areas of my life where, yeah, when I hear people and I can't celebrate with them, that was a key for me. And I think Jeff's going to talk about some of the things that we talk about today. So Jeff, it's all yours. And thank you for supporting Friends, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Trevor. Sorry, I'll come into view here for those that are online. Good morning, everyone. Happy you joined us this morning. Hopefully you're having a great morning already. I'll just set this here for a second. Get set up. You know, if you went snooping on my social media accounts, different things that I'm online engaging with people on, you'd see a collection of carefully curated photos, stories that I tell about myself. Images of my wife, Kathy, you know. Oh, who's that guy? that photo's getting a little old. Oh yeah, these beautifully curated pictures. Maybe some pictures of my boys. Has he got some? Yeah, there's my boys. And Brad Saunders. My other son was missing, so Brad Saunders filled in. You'd see maybe me doing some hobby stuff that I enjoy doing. There's I don't know if you got a golf shot in there, maybe. I don't know if you got one of those, do you? No? All right, well, don't worry about it. You'd see some little snippets from different corners of my world. But it probably goes without saying they're very particularly chosen to show a very particular view of my life to you. It does go without saying that there are other parts of my life that I kind of don't want you to see. Some parts of my life I'm not glamorizing. I'm not putting out there to the world. I would prefer you didn't see them. Likely because at some level so privacy is a part of it, but part of it is that I've become convinced that the truth of those unsavory parts, if known, would impact my stock in the world, would impact the way people see me, their image of me. I'm betting you do this too. We all do, I think. Some maybe more than others, but it may not be on social media that we do it, but it could be in the stories that we choose to tell people about ourselves. The parts of our lives that we work hard at keeping hidden. You know, it's like this image management game that we can involve ourselves with. This is pretty normal. You can fall into it, some more than others, but man, I tell you, it has a sinister side to it, along with some consequences that you never realize on the front end. Some dire consequences. This morning, I want to explore the dark side of image management, how it's been connected to this word called sin. And hey, after it's all said and done, if I can steer you clear of some of the consequences of this thing, I think we'd all be better for it. We have these mythologies that we want to believe about ourselves. It's kind of where it starts. Some of them we didn't even come up with. It was our parents or someone very influential in our lives at even a young age. You know, you bang away on a piano or scratch away on a violin, and there's your mom going, "Oh, my son is so musical. You are so amazing." Down deep, we're going, it doesn't really sound good, and we, kind of want to believe, but we probably don't even believe what they're saying. But we want them to believe what they're saying, don't we? Over the years, I can see how I've tried to build a certain persona based on different things I've perceived about my role in the world, little things that people have told me, that they've acknowledged about me, or that I've seen in someone else that I go, oh, that's who I need to be. I brought a friend. It's my much... Yeah, so this you've probably seen before if you've been around for a little while. It's been the brunt of a lot of jokes around the office. But I got these labels, these parts of my persona that I've kind of grabbed onto, that I said, I kind of want that to be true of me, or at least what people see me as. I want to be known as a good dad. I want them to think that I've been a great father. I want people to see that I'm kind. I think that's a label that I've kind of chased a lot. Spiritual. I want people to look at me in some kind of way that they go, that guy's wise. There's a depth to that guy. I want to put that out there. Oh yeah, I want to be seen as successful in some way. I want to be a loving husband, a strong communicator. I want to be known as someone who's good with my money. I could have added a bunch of different labels. I could have. These make sense. I could have put, I want to be seen as kind of the cool guy. That was kind of a thing that I held on to for a while. Oh, athletic. I could have put that in there. I want to tell people stories about the sports I play. I want them to have this kind of image of me. These are labels I subconsciously just believed would lead to kind of a greater stock value in people's eyes. Help me earn respect with certain people, love, acceptance, whatever it was that I was wanting from others. From my family, from my friends, from my work colleagues, from a girl I'm chasing when I'm in high school. Like, you're putting out these images going, hey. I remember one time the guy that I started this church with, Kelly, in one of his messages, he said, he referred to me as Brother Love. He was referring to this caring, compassionate quality that he saw in me. And I remember sitting in the service going, I don't know if I like that label. But it stuck. People were, hey, Brother Love's in the house. Like, it was like, I kind of, but I don't like it. It died a slow death. Now I'm resurrecting it in some way, I think. There's so many different parts of our images that we can carefully curate, aren't there? From our personality type, I want to be seen as this extroverted person, or this is who I am on the Enneagram. We play up these pieces. It can be determined by the careers we choose, the clothes and the brands we wear, the achievements we aspire to, the kind of things we put on our LinkedIn account. That's a good sign. What it was we want to put out to the world. The look of our bodies, the hobbies we chase, the vehicles and the homes we live in and drive. The kind of friends that we say, yeah, they're my posse, that's my tribe. All these things have a way of creating and shaping personas, myths that people hold of us. These mythologies, they're not just about our own unique personalities and characteristics, though. They can include larger political and cultural and religious identities. Some of us came from a family where at a young age we were told, oh, you are a Christian. We are Christians in this family. Or we're Buddhist. Whatever religious identity that your family had. Oh, we're Baptist. We're Lutheran. Some people know those labels when they speak of kind of where they've come from or whatever, those labels pop up. In some families, we are 4 generations of doctors in our family. That's one they hold up. We've all been accountants. We vote conservative in this family. We Johnsons, we're hard workers. We want our kids to kind of pick up the flavor, the identity, the persona. Come on, let's carry this on, kids. We're educated in this home. We always drive Chevys, don't we? You go into the country and those Smiths, they're Ford people. Yeah. No one on our side of the family has ever been divorced. We have our ways of communicating the personas we want passed on through the generations. These particular kind of stories, they can tell us who we are, why we're here, what the meaning of our lives is to some degree. Can give us a kind of a sense of mission or purpose. These particular kinds of stories can tell us who our friends are, who our enemies are. Oh, he's an Edmonton Oilers fan. Oh, okay. Oh, they vote NDP. Oh, okay. Enough said. Well, you hear these little things and the distinguishers. Oh, us versus them within these labels. They can inform us as to what is civilized and uncivilized, right and wrong. Like, these aren't bad things, are they? No, they give us a sense of identity in our world. Something to chase, something to build. Let me ask you something. How familiar are you with your own mythologies? The myths, the personas that you have embraced about you. I mean, if it was you, if you had your picture here, what labels would you be drawing on that thing? Think about that for a second. If you ask people in your life, tell me about him or her, what would they say about you? I have a feeling you're very familiar with your persona. If we had a little exercise here this morning, we said, hey, let's just introduce ourselves, shall we? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Joey would stand up and say, well, here's a little bit about me. You would choose to talk about your persona. Marital status, career, kids, some achievement maybe you're proud of, a hobby. Let me ask you something. What details would you want left out? I don't know. For some, it's their past relationship failure, maybe a career that went sideways. Maybe there's an insecurity about your own body that you try to keep concealed. Every Sunday I get up here, I'm like, oh, what am I going to wear? Sheesh. I see the video, I'm like, oh man, Jarvis, you gotta get in the gym. What is it? What part of you? You're going, I don't want the world to see this. Let's keep that out. Things that aren't going currently well. Maybe a personality quirk you have. Truth is, we all tend to work hard at keeping the unsavory details left off the map. This isn't bad. I don't want to villainize this process. These mythologies and the identity that we take on, they actually play a very healthy role. I remember as a kid, my parents divorced when I was young, and my mom would tell me this story when I was around 5 years old. Dad wasn't in the picture at this point. And we'd be out driving. I'd be sitting in the back seat. Of course, seatbelt laws weren't what they were back then. I'd be leaning over in the front seat. And the roads were icy. And so I was coaching Mom on how to drive so that we wouldn't get in an accident. She says, Jeff, you were always so responsible. Here we were at 5 years old thinking you knew how to drive better than your mom. But you were kind of, hey, Mom, be careful here. Slow down on this. I remember her saying, you were always so responsible. And I remember at some point going, that feels good. Yeah, I'm going to add that to my list. I am responsible. That was a healthy thing. It shaped me in some way. It can cover our weaknesses and insecurities that we may have. They can give us a sense of belief in ourselves. It's kind of the heart of the self-esteem thing. It gives you belief, even though it might not be fully true. But here's the thing. As much as we like or identify with these labels, these personas, these myths that we carry around, as much as they might help us get things that we're looking for from others in this world, they do have this dark side. As helpful as they are, they become problematic when we actually begin to believe these things define us. When we become really attached to these labels. You know, my youngest son, Carter, he began competing in snowboarding when he was really young. We weren't, I skied growing up, but we didn't go to the mountains very often. We didn't have enough money to. And so anyways, through a school program, he started snowboarding. And wouldn't you know it, I mean, he just had a knack for it. And some people noticed it. They said, you gotta get this kid competing. And so we did. He jumped into competitive snowboarding, and literally, like, from the first competition, he just began winning everything. Like, and we were shocked as anyone. We're like, holy crap, what? He'd go into every competition. He was on the podium or he had won the thing. Very quickly, his success brought sponsorships. It brought opportunities to travel the world. A lot of attention to himself. People would refer to, they'd say, oh, how's your snowboarder son doing? They'd see him, they'd say, oh, Carter, you're the snowboarder. I know that felt good for him. It felt good for us to kind of see he had this thing going. It pumped him up, and he had some success. He began traveling all over, and before you know it, he had, he ended up in Italy winning 2 silver medals at the Junior World Championships in big air and slopestyle. He came back, he won the national titles here in Canada. So he was on this incredible run. He's like 18 years old. And it's just skyrocketing. And everywhere he goes, he's got to wear all this sponsorship stuff. I mean, people see him, they go, oh, he must be it was just his identity, And so he gets this call from his agent who says, hey, look, right in the middle of this heightened state, everything is going so well. He gets invited down to New Zealand to film a Visa commercial. It was up for the 2018 Olympics. He was going to be a stunt jumper for one of our Canadian superstars who had been hurt. So he was going to be the stunt jumper while Mark McMorris's face would be all over the commercial, so they'd think it was Mark jumping. Anyways, Carter was thrilled. I mean, for an 18-year-old, who could have asked for something more exciting? So he's down in New Zealand, the weather's bad. It's snowing heavily. They can't do the filming, Finally, like, he's literally on the last day before he has to fly home. And the weather clears a bit. They said, hey, we think we can pull this off. You ready? He's like, oh, okay. But too much snow had fallen, and the in-run to the jump was slow. Carter crashes. He crashes bad. They, literally ripped his spleen in 2. They fly him, chopper him to another part of New Zealand where he undergoes surgery. And it was like at some point right in there, a series of events. That was a big one, but there was kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4 series of unfortunate setbacks in his career that culminated in last year him having to hang up the board. For the first time, Carter had to pull off the label professional snowboarder. And to see a 22-year-old whose whole identity had been wrapped up in that label, him beginning to wrestle with, okay, so what is my value now? Who am I even? If this is what people respected and loved about me, if this is what made my stock climb, and that gets taken away, am I a zero now? Now I tell Carter's story because this is all of our stories. It doesn't just happen to high-profile athletes. This can happen to anyone. This happens to moms when their kids grow up and move out. And all of a sudden, their role as caretaker is taken away. This happens when people get laid off, or when they retire, or when they turn gray, when all of a sudden they start growing love handles, when all of a sudden they can't do some of the things they used to do. It happens when people get divorced, when they come out of the closet, when they struggle to do something that they once were so good to do. I can think of a million things when all of a sudden our identities, parts of them, start getting pulled away from us. And it's usually in those moments we realize how attached we were to them. The dark side happens when we become too attached with our myths. And we struggle to maintain them, to claw onto them, to hold them. They lead us into these mental and emotional places. Last week I was listening to a Tim Ferriss podcast. He was interviewing this Elizabeth Lesser. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's a co-founder of the Omega Institute, but listed as one of Oprah's top 100 of world changers. She's introducing thought to the world that's changing how we live in this world, changing our perceptions. Anyways, this Elizabeth begins talking about a condition that she coined. She calls it an authenticity deficit disorder. She said all of us have grown up with scripts about the way that we need to be in this world, to fit in, to get what we want. We've observed these stereotypes that our society is built to define what a real man looks like, or a real masculinity, or what a real woman, or a businesswoman, or a super mom. What a business leader. Like, pick your thing, but there's these identities that get pushed out into the world. Who says what true beauty is? What does it mean to look like a great dad? There's someone spinning these stereotypes, these scripts, and they're handed to us. She said, invariably, something happens if we don't naturally fit them well. We develop the sense that there's fundamentally something wrong with us, that we need to change. To pretend that we're something other than who we actually are. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're working really hard to be something other than who you just are right now? And I'm not just talking about the desire to just improve yourself, to run faster, to be stronger. But it comes from this place that says, I'm not okay. Who I am isn't okay. This stems very closely to what Vince was talking about last week, this lack, this sense of, for me to show you what I am would be disastrous. I need to hide this, and I need to be that. Peter Rollins, Vince referred to him last week, he says we can end up spending huge amounts of energy to avoid our truth. These myths, they become a facade that shield us from these confrontations with those voices inside us. He calls them the ghosts that are continually whispering, saying, don't reveal that. It's like our internal PR managers that are constantly giving you the lines. Don't say that, don't say that. Don't show that picture. Keep this hidden. Leave that detail out. These ghosts whispering, they almost at times feel real, but then at other times you go, what was that? He would say this is why often silence, meditation, quiet is terrifying to many of us. Because it's in the silence that we begin to hear the ghost talk. It's often in the middle of the night when all else stopped, the ghosts come out and start reminding us how we may or may not be doing a good job of being the thing we're supposed to be. How many have felt those voices? How many have felt the heart race when you're going, oh no, I gotta, oh no. I think Jesus had a problem with this. One day he called out some of the religious leaders. Let's just face it, religion hasn't done us any favors in this department. He called out some of them. One day he said, you're hopeless. You religious scholars and Pharisees, you're frauds. You're like manicured grave plots, grass clipped and flowers bright. But 6 feet down, it's all rotting bones and worm-eaten flesh. People look at you and think you're saints, but beneath the skin, you're total frauds. I don't think Jesus, as he was saying this, was looking at them and saying, look at all the mistakes you're making. Look at the imperfections in your life. I think he was using a lot of parabole in this. Because if that's the case, he should have been ripping apart the tax collectors and some of the other unsavory characters that he was rolling with. He should have been calling them out, but he wasn't. Half the time he was saying, hey, you're good. You're good. Why was Jesus so messed up about this? Looking at these religious leaders. I think it was the fact that they're trying to conceal their darkness. Promoting these perfect personas, pretending to be something other than they were. Living lives that weren't perfect, any more perfect than anyone else. He says, you have the same problems as all these people that are listening to you. But now they feel like they're scum because they can't live up to the standards that you're pretending to live by, that you can't even live by. This is what an unhealthy attachment to our personas do. It leads us into a fake way of being in our world. It can. One of the most influential theologians and philosophers of the 20th century, Paul Tillich, he described these dark places we get to where we're just working so hard to be something different, something more, something other. He said that state that we find ourselves in, that disoriented, painful state that Carter found himself in, that every one of us at different times in our lives has experienced. He said that separation from who we truly are, that state we find ourselves in, is sin. That's sin. Where we truly believe that our worth, our value is defined by these labels that we've arbitrarily picked up along the way. Some intentionally, some absolutely unintentionally. And we just keep trying. Hey, world, look at me. Look at what I am. Look at what I am. the emotional turbulence that creates, that state is sin. Vince talked about the apple that we chase from the original garden narrative last week. Adam and Eve, humanity, reaching for the garden, saying, I'm not enough. This definition of sin says it happens as soon as we buy in and says, yes, I need that. Proverbially, we get kicked out of the garden. We get separated from our true essence and our state of well-being. And we spend our lives trying to find our true selves distant. How do you avoid that? Like how do you keep that from happening? How do you keep these labels from becoming too much a part of what we need to feel good, to feel healthy, to feel ourselves? Eckhart Tolle would say, literally, if you can recognize the illusion of your myths, they begin to dissolve. He says, if you can just see it, if you can see the fact that you have labels that you're trying hard to keep, and you can just spot them and go, oh, well, okay, I like being a good dad, and I'm going to try to be my best dad, but that doesn't define me. I can have a bad week. I can have a fight with my son. Tells me to screw up, whatever it is, and there's these hard words and whatever, and you can, in that moment, your identity goes, oh no, I got to keep that concealed. I don't want anyone knowing. Reality, no. When you can see what's going on here and going, wait. There's times I can be a really good dad. But Jeff is more than that. I'm behind all this. I can see these labels. That this isn't me. It's an illusion. Tolle says when you can see the illusion, the ghosts get quiet. I get where this stress is coming from. Business isn't going so well, and I'm worried about how that will affect me, my stock. Oh, I'm okay. It's just business. I'm a little overweight. That's Jeff is okay. Jeff is more than that. Can you see your labels that you may have a little too strong attachment to right in this moment? Think about the things that stress you out the most. The things that kind of get you lying awake at night. Now, we're talking about brown belt. We're climbing up in the levels of awareness. There's some people that are going, I don't do that. The very thing that you got saying to yourself, I don't do that, is the thing I'm talking about this morning. You got this. You do this. And most people are lying asleep, unconscious of the very thing I'm talking about this morning. But when you see it, it begins to dissolve. Now, for some of you who see it, you have these clarity, these moments of clarity where you go, oh, that's what I'm doing. You've got one more step you can take outside of just seeing it, and that is talking about it with someone and admitting it. Just saying, I got this thing. It might be even with someone who needs you to be one of these things. This Elizabeth Lesser, she recommended, where am I here? I'm having too much fun talking. She recommended, she says, maybe what you need to do is have a conversation with someone and say, is this what you need me to be loved by you? to be respected by you? That's a probing question. But it's amazing how sometimes their answer can shatter the illusion. It can reinforce, no, I don't need you to be that. I love that part of you, but some days you might not be that, and I'm okay with that. We all have our moments. Maybe there's conversations that could be held this morning with someone in your life that could just help you take it one step further from just the moment of clarity. It goes, I'm working too hard here. Just say, here's what Elizabeth Lesser says, when you start getting into that place, it's amazing how all of a sudden the awareness of where these labels even came from. How did that even happen? How did I take on that one? And how other people's perspective of you lessens the hold that these things have. It's okay. These are all good, but they are not you. They're not me. And if we can just hold them lightly. You want peace. You want freedom. That crushes the power of sin, as I've described sin. It crushes the illusion. I'm going to close. I'm going to invite Adam and Alessandra to come up this morning and close with a song. Alessandra, you wrote this song. Is that right? Yeah. If you've been around, you've heard this song. It speaks so beautifully and powerfully. It gives me goosebumps as I think about the way that it speaks to the process of letting go of this false persona. It's false in that it's not who you are at the deepest level. It's little pieces that describe you, that may describe you at one point and might go away. That's okay. We take them on and we let them go. Anyways, my prayer for you this week is that you will see the illusion. Whatever your mythology has told you about yourself, you'll just loosen the grasp on it. Realize you are more than any one of these labels that will come and go.